Hey guys, this is the podcast for 10xing your income and replacing your W-2 with wholesaling real estate, a strategy where you can make big finder's fees for finding rundown homes. My name's David Lecco, and I created a process that's helped 10,000 people like you do their very first deal in all 50 states over 10,000 times now with a software platform called DealMachine. And today, I've got a couple sales tools. If you guys feel a little bit uneasy talking with the seller, making an offer that could possibly get rejected, and maybe you've lost out on a deal and you're not really sure why, we can preemptively help you uncover the hidden objections people have that they are not telling you. Our guest today is Zack Boothe. He's going to tell us 3 objections that people most frequently have when you present a contract to them and how to preemptively avoid those in the future. Zack's actually done $1 million per year wholesaling through his driving for dollars strategy. And so this is coming to you from somebody with a lot of expertise. I know you're going to enjoy this.
You know, what I found when I'm coaching a new acquisition guy or when I was trying to figure out how to do closings. So what I mean by that is like you find a seller that wants to sell, right? And you go meet with them. You come to an agreement roughly verbally on the price and it makes sense for everybody. And then you go, okay, just sign right here. I found there's 3 things that people say to not sign. And there's some reasons behind it. We explain this. The 3 things are very common. These are the main 3. The first one is I need to talk to XYZ, brother, sister, someone not even related to the transaction. Because usually we'll prepare, right, to have all decision makers there. So that's not an objection, right? So I need to talk to XYZ. Or 2, I need to review this with an attorney, this agreement. Or 3, I don't make rash decisions. I like to sleep on any big decision. Mm-hmm. So there's reasons that these objections come at signing, and there's reasons that they don't. But there's also ways to handle these 3 objections and still get them to sign right then.
I'm on the hook. What do you do to prevent these questions from coming up, or at least be able to handle them before they come up?
Yeah, so you have to do what's called pre-closing them. You have to get them with the expectations. So if you're just like, yeah, man, I'll come see the house and meet with you. Well, they're not like mentally and emotionally prepared to sell their freaking house. In the beginning, I had people who were like, oh, whoa, like, when I'm like, well, I can get the paperwork and we come to an agreement. They're like, oh, wow. Like, you're talking about like buying the house today, right? It's like, well, duh. To me, that was a duh. I'm here to buy your house. But to them, they're in the emotional shopping stage. They're not psychologically prepared to sign an agreement and just be done. So when I set that appointment, say, hey, like I see on title that Tom Bob Smith LLC owns this property. Are you the owner? Do you have a partner or a spouse that would need to sign if we came to an agreement on a price, right? Or if they're Bob Smith and I'm talking to Bob and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing on title that, you're the one that wants to sign or needs to sign. Do you have a spouse as well that would need to sign off at least emotionally on this? I want to make sure everyone's there because I plan on coming and seeing the house and hopefully come to an agreement for something that makes sense for all of us. So I set the expectation. I pre-close them. Like I'm there to do business. Mm-hmm. And then I say, are you guys ready to sell this thing? Are you getting multiple offers? Like where are you guys at? Are you guys ready to close? If I come and can get you a price that makes sense, of course. Are you guys ready to go today? Because now I uncover the BS. Now I know, no, actually we've got a couple offers. I'm going to take highest and best. Okay, is there a number that you would take if I come and I can come to an agreement on a price and a time frame and everything you need? Are you going to sign with me right then, or are you wanting to get multiple offers? Okay, well, why don't you meet with them? Because I want to make sure that you've had all the chances in the world to meet all the other people and feel confident. And if I can come in and be your best option, I'd love to make it happen. Or you can then go, hey, you're not the fit. We're going to work with this other guy. So can I be last then? Right? So I set the expectation. I'm coming to sell. I'm overcoming all objections before I get there. I got all the decision makers there. I have all the reasons not to sign out of the way. Like I'm shopping it. So that I feel like with all sales, your first preliminary call is the most important call. Most professional real estate investors and wholesalers, many of them have a team, and one of the team members is a setter or a what would they call it? A lead. What do they call those? Like a lead manager? They call them lead managers usually. I don't know if you've probably seen this and had people on the guest where they have a lead manager and an acquisition manager.
Yeah, I mean, most people are one-man operations that may be doing up to $250,000 a year wholesaling, even with just one person. So I don't get into somebody that has a lot of team members typically. But yeah, I mean, in Collective Genius, I know I'm exposed to people who do 100+ deals a year.
Yeah,
like yourself, and they do have those different positions.
Yeah, and I think it completely just kills their profitability, kills the amount of deals they close, because you have to have an intelligent sales guy that can overcome those objections before they get there. And the problem is, for a closer to close well, they have to set that expectation. So they got to make the call anyways. So they have these setters that ask these random questions, very scripted, but don't really set the stage psychologically, right? That's the first thing, is expectations are not met up front. That's a number one mistake. Like, that's why 99% of the time you're getting these objections. Because think about this, you kind of go back and forth and like psychologically, like, well, I got an investor coming tomorrow. What can I say? I don't make rash decisions. I need to sleep on it. That's what you're going to hear from the sellers, right? Because but they feel uncomfortable telling you that.
Well, I mean, I never like to be surprised. If I've made an offer and then I'm surprised by something that they're not signing it for whatever reason, that doesn't feel good to me. So when you say the word pre-close, one of the things the phrases that comes up for me is, if I were to give you an offer at this price with these conditions that solves this problem you've told me about, is there any reason why you wouldn't sign it today? And then sometimes that can bubble up these things. If they say no, I think they're kind of obligated to sign it once you then do give them that offer. Have you ever used that phrase before?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, that is the most perfect question you can ask, right? You ask those before you go. Those are the types of questions and what you're uncovering before you go. Then when you're there and you talk about their situation and what they're dealing with, and that's how you get them to close. You're like, okay, so you've told me you want this, and this is a headache, and you don't want to list it, and you don't want to do these things, right? And we've talked about kind of a price range we're talking about. Is there anything that's going to keep you from being able to work with me today? Is there any reason to tell me no today? Right? That's a perfect question, like you asked, David, right? It's, you've preset them, you've gone through their pain points, and they're there communicating with you, telling you all the reasons they want to sell and what they're dealing with. And then you ask that question, they're set up to close, right? So if you find yourself on every appointment getting one of those 3 objections, that's the number one thing you're not doing properly. You're going to have indecisive people, though, regardless, David, right?
Right.
That'll give you this stuff. Or they're actual real objections, like they really do want their attorney to review it. Or they really do need to call and talk to their dad because their dad's like, call me before you sign anything. Like that overprotective bearing dad, right? And so, if you find yourself in those positions, it doesn't mean the deal's dead. It doesn't mean that you can't get away with signing the contract. So there's ways that I handle all 3 of those objections.
Right. So so far we've talked about how to prevent those from being objections. But let's say you miss a step, or you've given an offer and an objection does come up like that. What do you do in that situation?
Well, let's handle those objections one at a time, right? So the first objection, I need to talk to XYZ, right? I need to talk to dad or whatever. He'd be like, oh, okay. Do they need to sign? I know they don't need to sign, but I asked that. I'm kind of like confused. Like, why do you want to talk to him? But I don't say, like, why do you want to talk to him? Because they're in their mind, even if they don't say it, they'll be like, well, it's none of your business. Right? Because it comes off as,
you don't want to get an attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to ask questions that get them on the defensive. You ask curiosity questions.
Then question, like, what do you need to sign?
Oh, it's like, oh, okay. Does he need to sign too? No, that's not it. So you ask that question because it's not an offensive question. It's like, because if you ask, well, why is that? Like, that's rude, right? It's an attitude. And then you're going to get the same thing back. But no, they're going to be like, no, I just feel comfortable and confident with what he said, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get a superficial answer. It's like, oh, okay, well, I definitely, and then the next thing you have to do is make them feel heard and understood and validated. Then the last thing you can do is argue with someone, right? No negativity, right? As soon as you're like, well, that's silly. I thought we had an agreement. You lost it. Or if someone's like, well, I have another investor, this is their name. And you'd be like, oh, they're horrible. They're con artists and stuff. Negativity will always get you negativity, right? So you'd be like, oh, I totally understand. I want you to be so confident and comfortable. I don't want you to feel like this is the wrong decision. If it'll talking to your dad and understands that I could even talk to him, we put him on speaker. I have my laptop. We could jump on a Zoom call with him. He can meet me. I could talk about all the options. Like, I want you to be super comfortable.
Makes sense.
Thank you. Right. So
they take you up on that typically.
Well, if you say it that way, they'll be like, yeah, that's why I want to talk to him. It's like, totally understand. Well, you might hate this idea. Now you have to come up with a solution. Now you're on their team brainstorming a solution. They feel heard and validated. Now you put yourself on their side of the fence and you're brainstorming with them with solutions to get the house sold, right? So you'd be like, okay, well, I totally understand. Well, the big thing, like I said before I came, is I'd love to be able to buy the house and I'd love to come to an agreement on something that makes sense for us today, like I had talked about, right? Going back to the expectations you set. And you say, but I also want you to be comfortable. So how do you think we could approach this where you could talk to your dad and we can still do the deal today? Mm-hmm. So you ask them how to overcome that objection. You don't tell them how to overcome it.
Gotcha.
Right? Because now it's kind of, Chris Voss, the guy that does Never Split the Difference.
Right. Read that book last year. It was a great book.
I love it. So if you guys don't know what this book is, get it, first of all. But the book is, so Chris Voss basically is known and respected as basically the guy that wrote hostage negotiations scripts for the FBI. And so think about the negotiations he had to do. He had to have someone with a gun to innocent people's heads and say, hey, I'm not going to get you a plane with millions of dollars and fly you somewhere safe.
I can't. How could I do that?
Yes, that's what he said. He said,
I want to do that. How could I do that?
And he has to get them to come out with their hands up and go to jail, right? That's what he's negotiating against. So the stakes are much higher. And so what he does when he gets insane demands is he gets on their side. He says, I totally understand, man. You're in a bad spot. This is tough. I know you want a plane and you want this. So he makes them feel heard and validated. And then he says, but brother, dude, I'm an employee of the FBI. How am I supposed to get you a plane? Like, the FBI doesn't even have a plane. Like, how do we do that? Does that make sense? Now you're brainstorming with the candidate that you're negotiating with, right? And then what it does is it goes, man, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. It's like, well, can you call him right now? Now you start throwing ideas at him because now you're brainstorming with him.
Yeah,
not telling him what to do. Can you call him?
Yeah.
Do you want me to step outside? I mean, so you can call him, or do you want me? Is it okay if I'm here? Like, what do you want me to do? Well, he's at work. Okay. When's he get off? He gets off at 5. Okay. Well, if you're for sure going to be able to talk to him tonight. Okay. Well, here's something that's a little weird. Just brainstorming to make this thing happen and be efficient as possible. What if you talk to him tonight? We could jump on a Zoom call, but since I'm already here and I got the papers and everything, we could come to an agreement on price. And if you decide you don't want to work with me, I'll literally write it in here that you can text me that we're no longer doing business together and cancel the agreement. So you'll have till tonight at midnight to text me. But that way we can jump on a Zoom call and we can all talk and everything. And if it doesn't make sense, you just text me and we're done. Do you hate that idea? So we can be efficient with our time. And a lot of the times they'll say yes. A lot of times they'll say yes, but many times they'll say, well, no, because, and then they'll give you a new objection or some new BS. Like, well, I just feel pressured. Well, I'm confused. You feel pressured. I thought that's why we're here. Maybe I don't have the whole picture. And then you start labeling to get the truth because people want to feel heard and understood. Okay, I'm confused. I'm trying to work with you. I thought we were okay with price. I thought we were okay with everything. And then you brought up kind of this curveball, which is fine. Like, I want you to feel comfortable with this. But I came up with a solution that you can have your cake and eat it too, but that's not enough. I kind of feel like I don't have the whole picture. Are you just trying to get more offers? If that's the case, that's okay. Like, what do you got going on? So now I labeled it that they're shopping me in the kindest way. And then it'd be like, no, that's not it. It's like, okay, well, help me understand what's going on. And you're going to uncover, well, the thing is it actually has blah, 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 blah. And they'll give you more information, and then you work through those objections in the same manner, right?
Hey guys, if you know you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast, because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom.
So that's the first objection, right? I need to talk to so-and-so. And that's how I would handle it. But the psychology with all objections is the same. You validate their feelings and you agree with them and you understand, and then you brainstorm ways to solve the problem and get to that expectation that you set before you went. How do we buy the house and come to an agreement? The next objection that I hear right before the signing is, I need to review this with an attorney. Right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I say, totally understand. Do you have the attorney lined up already? What attorney do you use? Because I want to know if they're full of crap. Right? Normally they go, I don't have an attorney. I'll find one. It's like, okay, do you need a referral? Right? And then they'll be like, no, well, maybe. And you can totally tell if it's BS or not. But sometimes they're like, yeah, I have my attorney, blah, 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 blah. From there, I go, okay, well, listen, I don't want you to sign an agreement that you don't understand. That's the last thing anyone needs here, right? Because I don't want you upset or frustrated with me at the end of the day when we come to an agreement and you didn't understand it. But I'd love to come to an agreement today if possible and kind of make this thing happen, kind of like I said before. So, man, just thinking here. I mean, can you think of a way that we could make this happen today and still get you what you want? And they're going to be like, no, right? So now you get them brainstorming and thinking, just like you do with the other objection. And you go, well, here's an idea. You might hate this idea, right? You're brainstorming. You're not telling them what to do. You might hate this idea. What if we did this? What if we just read through this agreement? I keep it short and sweet and simple for a reason. What if we read through this agreement, and if you don't understand anything, then yeah, take it to the attorney. But if you understand the simplicity of this thing, you can save yourself $2,000 to $5,000 in attorney's fees, and we can make this thing happen like we talked about. Do you hate that idea?
Yeah, sounds pretty fair to me.
Yeah, right. And I literally did this on the 40-day challenge that I did, right, where I go do 3 wholesale deals and make $93,000. The second deal, or one of the contracts I signed, that was the objection at signing, and they're like, we'll read it. And they went and read it, and we signed the contract. Right?
Love it. Yeah.
So sometimes you can overcome that agreement. Sometimes you can't. Right? And sometimes they're like, no, I definitely want my attorney to review it, blah, blah, blah. And I say, fantastic. Have your attorney review it. I honestly, what if we did this? What if we sign the agreement and I give you a couple days to back out, right? I'll put it in the addendum and you text me to cancel it. Sometimes I'm like, no, I still won't do that. I really want to review it, right? Then from there, I go, you know what? And then I pull away super hard, right? Because what happens most of the time is they use that one. It's a very powerful one for them to then go shop us, right? It's like, okay, well, I'm kind of confused. I'm giving you all the options to get what you want and have your cake and eat it too. I just don't really fully understand. I kind of feel like you may be wanting to get other offers from other investors. If that's the case, that's okay. I'm just trying to truly understand what's going on, right? Sometimes they'll stick to their guns. And if they do, what I'll do there is I don't want them to leave with a confident, we've got their number, I never have to talk to them again, I'm just going to go shop someone else. So what I do is I pull away really hard. And I don't do it in a rude way. I go, well, no, that totally makes sense. It's actually okay too, because I'm a little concerned I might be paying too much at the price we had talked about. I want to double check my numbers and make sure this makes sense. So that makes sense. Just so I know what my time frame is to do my research and dig in and make sure my number's okay. What day are you guys talking to the attorney? When are you going to be able to really make something happen or not?
Okay. And so then you're avoiding making an offer that is going to...
Basically, I pull my offer away.
Yeah.
Because now think about it. If you're like chasing them, my number's 100,000, like, let's do this thing. And then the attorney objection comes up and you're like, okay, well, you call your attorney. I'm desperate. I want this deal for 100. They're thinking I'm too high or I'm too low. I could get more. I'm going to shop it. But if you pull away, they're like, oh man, we may lose this guy and he's thinking 100's too high. I better hurry. Like, they're going to feel more psychologically open to taking a call from you and still letting you possibly come up. He's going to double check his numbers. Maybe he'll pay more, maybe he'll pay less. So if they're shopping you, you can follow up like, hey, what's the plan? Did you find some more offers? I wouldn't say, how was the attorney? I was like, did you get some more offers? I would just assume they did. No. Oh, you talked to your attorney. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Right. So I try and really figure out what's going on and eventually get the contract. The thing is, too, for the listeners, you're going to get better and better and better and better at this. And even the best of the best, by the way, so Hayden Greenwood, my partner in my real estate investing company, he alone negotiates over $1 million a year in wholesale fees. Guys, I want you to understand, he only closes, depending on the lead source, 18 to 24% of the appointments.
Okay. So he closes 18 to 20% of the appointments.
Yeah, that's it. So he's not closing everybody. You don't close everybody.
Right.
So keep in mind,
unless you've eliminated all these things.
Yep. And then it kind of brings us to that third objection that we deal with, right? Which, hold on a second. Sorry. That third objection that we come to is, I don't make rash decisions. Let me sleep on it. And 99.9% of the time, this one's BS. Right. This one is 100%. They're trying to buy time.
Right.
Yeah. And because I've set expectations and all those things up front. And normally they're shopping. Normally they feel like we're too high or they're too low and they could possibly get more elsewhere. And I handle it with the same way I handle all the previous two. Right. You say, okay, I totally understand. Don't want you to feel like you're making a rash decision, right? How do we put something together today and still let you feel confident about the decision, right? Then you go, okay, well, what if I gave you time to sign the contract? Text me tomorrow morning if you don't want to do it first thing in the morning, right? And I don't give them more than 2 days. I just had a student do this. He signed a contract, but he gave him like 3 days. I'm like, oh shit, of course they're going to shop it if they're asking for 3 days. And of course they're going to cancel it because they're going to be like, hey, look at the contract I have for how much. I can cancel it if you'll pay me more. So some other investor is going to pay more and they're going to text and cancel. It's exactly what happened to them, right? Don't give them too much time.
All right.
So if you do this and they do sign that, most of the time they'll follow through. But most of the time they won't sign because it's a false objection. It's not the real issue. It's not really why they're not signing. So then you do the same thing. Okay, I'm confused, right? I've kind of given your cake and eat it too. I've come to an agreement. We're here. We're together. I give you the option to sleep on it and still cancel it, and you still don't want to work with me. I don't feel like I have the whole picture. It kind of appears that you're trying to get more offers or trying to do something different. Like, what's going on? I don't understand. And that's when you uncover the real objections and what's going on.
Uncovering the objection is the only way to really handle it and to really solve it. If you kind of accept what they say and walk away, you may never hear from them again, but you don't even really know the reason why. So I love that your strategies all allow those things to come out about that they may be not ready to share with you in the first place.
100%. And some people are extremely intimidated by this. They're like, oh, sales are so scary and salesmen are so pushy. And they have like so many limiting beliefs about sales. And the funny thing is everyone understands this stuff. The problem is, as soon as there's money on the line, there's like this immediate emotional turmoil inside them. They're terrified. There's tens of thousands of dollars on the line. They're like, they forget how to be a human being. They forget how to talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that you always say that is my North Star is pretend that you're talking with your aunt or your uncle or a family member that's in this exact situation.
Yep.
And if you wouldn't say what you're saying to your aunt or uncle, then you should really reconsider like what you're saying. And so that's always a great North Star for me.
100%. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, we understand how this works.
Right.
And some people are like, well, I don't know how to be pushy. Like, for example, if you ask them, well, what's the payoff? How much do you want? They're like, oh, I don't know. You called me. Right? If your mom, when you're 8 years old, your mom says you can't have a cookie before dinner and you're like, but Mom, I want a cookie. Like, well, well, dad had a cookie, or you gave a cookie to someone so-and-so the other night. Like, you're going to ask for that cookie 100 different ways. You're going to be like, well, Mom, it seems like you've had a stressful day. I think you need a cookie. Do you want me to get the milk? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
You're going to ask 100 different ways, and you're going to have fun with it. And you're going to get that cookie from Mom. You understand this at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Right? You know how to talk to your family and your friends. And the problem is when it's a stranger, when there's money, we forget to just be human.
Yeah. And also chasing someone around doesn't feel good to you or them.
No.
It makes them not want to do business with you. So if you feel like you're chasing, I like that your whole strategy is based on being helpful. And sometimes when you're pulling away, it allows the situation to move forward, or a detail to be uncovered without you chasing them around. It's not like you want them to chase you, but then if they come back your direction, there is a genuine problem that you can help with. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. It makes the biggest difference in the world. Is you guys need to realize it's not our job to change people's minds. It's not our job to convince people to sell their house for 40 cents on the dollar when they have no want or desire to do so. Right. Our job is to find people, uncover their problems. When we find a problem, we solve their problem with the services we provide as creative real estate investors.
Yep. Well, that was a great overview of 3 objections that you'll encounter when you're trying to get somebody to sign a contract. Is I need a relative to talk to, I need my attorney to look at it, or I just need more time. And you masterfully showed us how to overcome all those. And I'd encourage anyone listening not to feel like they need to get everything perfect. I certainly don't get everything perfect, and I don't really use a script either. But when I hear something like an episode like this, I love trying it out because it's like a new tool in my tool belt to overcome something that I may have struggled with before. And so I'd approach it like, get excited to try like 1 or 2 of these things. But by no means do you need to like memorize this and put pressure on yourself to like hit all these scripts like exactly the way Zack told it.
Can I share one piece of advice too to get good?
Yep.
You don't have to get repetitions when the game's on the line. So like, for example, are you going to swing at a baseball for the very first time when you're trying to hit a grand slam to win, the most important game of your life? It's like the first time you're ever going to swing a bat. No. Is the first time and only time you're going to swing a bat is when you're in a game? No. How many times are you going to swing that bat before you're even at practice? Does that make sense? Like, the problem is people don't have any practice at all with negotiations and communications. And then they go out to an appointment with tens of thousands of dollars on the line and they're disappointed they don't know how to communicate. Mm-hmm. So how do you get practice? Well, first off, you got to go do driving for dollars. You got to go find ugly houses. You got to reach out to those people and go meet with people. Record all those appointments, listen to them, listen to how horrible they are, and then continue to practice in your bedroom out loud. Listen to the call. Say what you would have said differently. Say it out loud. Say it out loud. Say it out loud over and over and over. You need to be practicing. The best performers. I heard that Beyonce, after every single show, when she gets off stage, she goes backstage and watches her entire performance and critiques and makes notes for how to make it better the next time. Every single time. Basketball play.
She's already at her top of the line level.
Exactly.
So yeah, man, it's really great. Is just to continue to practice, take action, go drive for dollars. If you're listening and you want a 7-day challenge on driving for dollars to get your first deal, check out episode 65 of the DealMachine podcast and take that 7-day challenge. Zack's pulled out his DealMachine coffee mug right now, which is fantastic. And thank you, Zack, so much for teaching us how to handle those 3 objections when you're trying to get a contract signed. And be sure to check out Zack's podcast, which is D for D Mastery, also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much, Zack.
Of course. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.